At some point, you've sat in a room and wondered if you were the least intelligent person in it. Someone speaks and everyone nods immediately. You need a moment. You ask a question that feels obvious. You make a mistake that feels embarrassing. And quietly, a conclusion forms. You're just not that smart. But here's what nobody tells you about intelligence. The mind that doubts itself is already doing something the overconfident mind cannot. It is examining, questioning, looking beneath the surface. And that is not a sign of weakness. It is one of the most reliable indicators of a genuinely sophisticated mind. What follows are 10 behaviors that society has mislabeled as flaws, but that neuroscience and psychology tell a very different story. Pay attention. You may be about to see yourself differently. Most people learn early that talking to yourself is strange, something to be embarrassed about, something to hide. But researchers at the University of Wisconsin found something worth sitting with. People who verbalize their thoughts out loud process information faster, retain it longer, and solve problems more effectively than those who don't. When you talk to yourself, you are not losing your mind. You are externalizing your thinking, turning an invisible internal process into something your brain can observe and respond to. You are, in the most literal sense, coaching yourself through complexity. Einstein did it. Feynman built an entire problem-solving system around. The inner monologue of an intelligent mind is not silence, it is conversation. You replay the conversation 3 hours after it ended. You imagine 12 different outcomes before making a decision. You question yourself in moments when others seem to move without hesitation. You've probably been told this is a problem, that you need to think less, worry less, just act. But neuroscientists have a different name for what you're doing. They call it metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. It is one of the most sophisticated cognitive functions the human brain performs, and it is not evenly distributed. The mind that reviews its own reasoning, that questions its own conclusions, that refuses to accept the first answer it generates, that mind is doing something most minds never attempt. The cost is that it feels like anxiety. The reality is that it is analysis. The difference between the two is simply whether you know how to use it. This one is perhaps the most important. You are familiar with the feeling of not being sure, of wondering if your answer is right, your judgment sound, your understanding complete. Others seem to have no such doubt. They speak with certainty. They act with confidence. You wonder what they know that you don't, what they know less than you do. The Dunning-Kruger effect, one of the most replicated findings in cognitive psychology, demonstrates that people with limited knowledge in a domain consistently overestimate their competence, while people with deep knowledge consistently underestimated. The more you understand about any subject, the more clearly you see the edges of your understanding. The more you see those edges, the more uncertain you feel. Confidence, in the absence of knowledge, is easy. It costs nothing because it risks nothing. Your doubt is not evidence of inadequacy, it is evidence of depth. Routine suffocates you. Repetition drains you in a way it doesn't seem to drain others. You've been called restless, unfocused, hard to satisfy. The neurological explanation is less flattering to the people doing the labeling. Highly intelligent minds have a dopamine system that responds differently to stimulation. Simple, predictable tasks produce less reward signal. The brain, finding insufficient challenge, begins to search for novelty, complexity, something worth the effort of full engagement. What looks like boredom is actually a calibration problem. Your mind is built for a level of challenge that most environments don't provide. The frustration you feel in understimulating situations is not laziness. It is a high-performance engine running in first gear. The world is organized around morning people, early meetings, early start. The implicit message that discipline looks like being awake before the sun. And yet research from the London School of Economics found a consistent pattern. People who prefer late nights tend to score higher on measures of intelligence and creative thinking. The explanation is not simply that night owls are smarter, it is that intelligence often requires an environment the daytime doesn't provide. Silence, absence of interruption, the particular quality of thought that emerges when the social demands of the day have finally released their grip. Creative insight, the kind that connects distant ideas, that sees patterns others miss, often requires a mind that has been left alone long enough to wander. Late nights are not a discipline failure. For many, they are simply when the mind finally gets to work. The ticking clock that nobody else seems to hear. The conversation 2 tables away that pulls your focus completely. The background music that makes concentration impossible while your colleagues work unbothered. You've wondered if something is wrong with you. What's actually happening is heightened sensory processing, a nervous system that absorbs more environmental data than average. This same sensitivity that makes noise distracting is the mechanism behind pattern recognition, detail orientation, and environmental awareness. Your brain is not failing to filter, it is choosing to receive. The cost is overstimulation in loud environments. The benefit is a perceptual richness, a depth of experience that quieter nervous systems simply don't access. You don't experience the world less well than others. You experience more of it. This one will surprise you. Psychologists at the University of Calgary identified something they called active procrastination, a pattern in which high-functioning individuals deliberately delay tasks until the conditions for peak performance arrive. Your brain resists busy work. It resists performing below its capacity, and so it waits, sometimes frustratingly, sometimes self-destructively, for a state of genuine engagement before committing fully. This is why you often do your best work under pressure, not because pressure improves your ability, but because pressure finally creates the conditions your brain was waiting for. Stakes, urgency, meaning. The procrastination is not the problem. The absence of meaningful engagement is. Give an intelligent mind work that matters, and the procrastination often disappears entirely. The exact phrasing of something someone said 3 years ago, an obscure fact from a documentary you half-watched, the precise date of something nobody thought was worth remembering, and yet you cannot find your keys. You forget names within seconds of hearing them. You miss obvious practical details that others navigate effortlessly. This is working memory operating with a particular kind of selectivity. The intelligent mind encodes what interests it with unusual depth and fidelity. Information that connects to existing knowledge, that carries emotional resonance, that satisfies curiosity, and this gets stored in extraordinary detail. Information that feels routine, generic, or meaningless gets deprioritized. It is not forgetfulness. It is curation. Your brain has decided, largely without your input, what is worth keeping. Intelligence in popular culture looks cold, logical, detached. The image of the brilliant mind is one that has risen above feeling, that operates in the clean, uncluttered space of pure reason. This is almost entirely wrong. Research in effective neuroscience consistently links emotional depth and empathic sensitivity to higher cognitive function, the ability to read emotional nuance, to model the inner states of others, to feel the full weight of a situation. These are not soft skills adjacent to intelligence. They are intelligence, operating in the social and emotional domain. The person who feels everything deeply is not failing to think clearly. They are thinking clearly about things that most people never stop to consider. And here it is, the one that connects every name we associate with genuine brilliance. Not a specific skill, not a particular talent, not a test score or a credential, a refusal to arrive. Leonardo da Vinci filled thousands of pages with questions he never stopped asking. Richard Feynman kept a notebook labeled "Things I Don't Know." Einstein, near the end of his life, said the more he learned, the more he felt the mystery deepening. The hallmark of genuine intelligence is not the accumulation of answers. It is the capacity to remain curious in the presence of them. If you are here, watching this, thinking about this, trying to understand yourself and the world more clearly, you are already doing the thing. Intelligence was never meant to look the way we were taught it looked. It was never meant to be the loudest voice in the room, the fastest answer, the most unshakable confidence. It lives in the person who talks to themselves because they take their own thinking seriously, in the person who doubts themselves because they understand enough to know what they don't, in the person who feels too much, thinks too long, stays up too late, and can never quite let a question rest. Society has spent a long time telling that person they are too much. What society meant to say is, we didn't know what to do with you. Now you do. Which of these signs resonated with you the most? Let me know in the comments. You might help someone else see themselves differently. If this resonated with you, hit subscribe. We're building a community of people who want to understand themselves better. Understanding the signs of intelligence is just the beginning. To see why your brain might be hiding your potential from you, click the video on your screen. Stay curious, stay aware, and I'll see you in the next one.